horrible to do that. Trust me, I would not be hiding that. He'd be very happy.
Amber sat on the soft leather chair, a familiar sense of unease settling over her. Therapy had always been something she pushed herself to do, but today, she felt particularly vulnerable. She glanced at the clock on the wall, her fingers nervously tapping on the armrest, waiting for Dr. Myers to enter. Amber, Dr. Myers greeted as she entered the room, her voice gentle but assertive. She took a seat across from Amber, her pen poised over her notebook. "Hello, Dr. Myers," Amber replied, forcing a smile. She had grown accustomed to therapy, but today felt different. Today, she was ready to confront something she had been avoiding for months. Her emotions. Amber had always been the strong one, the pillar of the family, and admitting that she was struggling felt like an overwhelming weight. "Let's begin with how you're feeling today," Dr. Myers suggested. Amber hesitated for a moment before speaking, the words coming slower than she expected. "I've been feeling overwhelmed. Like there's a lot on my plate. Between work, the kids, and everything else, I've been stretching myself too thin." Dr. Myers nodded. "That's a common feeling when you're juggling so much. But what's at the core of this? What do you feel is weighing on you the most?" Amber let out a deep sigh, her mind racing. It wasn't just the responsibilities of her daily life, it was the unspoken challenges, the emotional weight of holding everything together. "I guess I've always been the one to hold everything together, for the family, for everyone. But lately, I feel like I'm losing grip." Dr. Myers leaned in, her tone compassionate yet probing. "It sounds like you're carrying a lot of emotional labor. How do you feel about asking for help when you need it?" Amber swallowed hard, her eyes welling with tears that she had long since learned to suppress. "I don't want to burden anyone. I don't want to seem weak or like I can't handle things." "I hear you," Dr. Myers replied. "But asking for help doesn't make you weak. In fact, it's one of the strongest things you can do for yourself. You don't have to do it all alone." Amber nodded, her eyes closing as she let the words sink in. She had always been the caregiver, the one to make sure everyone else was okay. But she was beginning to realize that her own well-being was just as important. Scene 2, Liz and Brice's next steps. Meanwhile, across town, Liz and Brice sat at a local cafe, sipping their coffee in silence. There was an undeniable tension in the air between them, but it wasn't necessarily bad. It was just the quiet hum of uncertainty as they navigated the next phase of their relationship. Brice broke the silence first. "So, I've been thinking a lot about us lately, and I want to be sure we're both on the same page moving forward." Liz smiled softly, her fingers tracing the rim of her coffee cup. "I've been thinking about it too. Things have been moving so fast, and I want to make sure we're both ready for what comes next." Brice nodded, his expression serious. "I want to make sure I'm doing right by you. We've had our share of ups and downs, but I feel like there's something special here. But I also know that we need to figure out what we both want long-term." Liz's heart skipped a beat. "I agree. It's not just about the moment, it's about the future. We've both got a lot going on with our families and careers. But I'm ready to take the next step, if you are." The conversation wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Liz had always been careful about her heart, and Brice respected that. They both knew that whatever they decided next would shape their future together. "I think it's time we figure out what our relationship really looks like," Brice said, leaning in slightly. "Are we ready to take the plunge, to make it official in a way that feels right?" Liz felt a flutter in her chest, a mixture of excitement and nerves. "I think so. But let's take it slow, okay? Let's really make sure we're ready for the commitment." Brice smiled, relieved by her response. "Of course. We'll go at our own pace, but I want you to know that I'm here for you, every step of the way." As Amber left her therapy session, a sense of clarity washed over her. She was learning to let go of the need to control everything, allowing herself space to be vulnerable. She still had a long journey ahead, but she was ready to embrace it. Meanwhile, Liz and Brice, after their heart-to-heart, felt a renewed sense of commitment to each other. Though their future was uncertain, one thing was clear: They were in it together, ready to face whatever came next.